Good evening. This is Penelope Flynn and the rest of your Blerdsassins Next Door. We got Cranston and Sonia, and we are here on this lovely August 10th, 2024. And tonight we are going to be discussing the films that each of us categorize in Olympic style as a perfect 10. So before we get started, we are going to talk about the weather. Cranston, you're top right. Go ahead, tell us what's the weather like there?
Okay, well, as you might have known if you've watched the Weather Channel, they've had a hurricane that's gone across the state. I think it's somewhere out going toward the Carolinas now, and it didn't really get close to here. The the eye was over Lake City, which is like 34 miles away. So we got a lot of rain, but no tornadoes and not a lot of wind damage. So Monday and Tuesday, it was like totally wet. Then we had some rain Wednesday. Then by Thursday, everything cleared up. So it's been sprinkles here and there. But other than that, we've been doing pretty good.
So no direct hit for you all.
No direct hit. No, just a nice indirect hit. But it wasn't like they were talking about getting 10 inches of rain up in Georgia and the Carolinas. So
Cool. All right, Sonia, I know at first they were saying that up the coast, going to New York, etc., that you all were going to get some nothing either.
Actually, no, we got, but just to the west of us,
Uh-huh.
like 30 minutes to the west of us, got the rest of Debbie. We lucked out.
Wow.
They were showing
It's,
some of the flooding and everything is like literally 30 minutes to the west. No, 30 minutes to the east. Because
wow.
we
Wow.
missed the most of it. So right now it's been nice. It's been beautiful. Back to normal weather. 82-ish. Like right now it's 67 and it actually feels like 67.
Wow. Yeah, so I mean
So
for us, we have had uh I mean it started out nice and normal, but then it's like hot. I mean it got really hot. So you have the air on and it's not doing you any favors just
mhm.
until nighttime when it cools down and then you can get a little bit of relief. But it's been pretty hot. I mean, in my car it's showing like, over 100, but generally it's showing around
Oh,
100.
ooh,
But it's been hot. And this has been inside weather. I mean, I've not ventured out too much except, to do the necessary runs. But other than that, no, thank you. It's been really hot.
we had heat advisories all week, and yeah.
Yeah, it's been a mess. But for here, I guess it's closer to normal. You know, so we don't get freaked out too much of heat advisories here, really, because we know stay inside, right?
Hmm.
All right. So tonight we're supposed to be discussing our films that we rate a perfect 10. Now, everyone is not going to see the same films as a perfect 10.
Hmm.
Uh, and if we have like what is our guidelines? Well, beginning, middle, and an end, to your film. That is plot,
Hmm.
character. Um, uh, it has pathos. I don't know, catharsis. All those things. But basically, what it comes down to, when I think about, then it's a film that I can watch from beginning to end, and then think, yeah, I'm going to watch it again right now.
Hmm.
Or a film where I just happen to be flipping through channel surfing, and I see that it's on, and I will stop and watch it all the way to the end. Something that can command my attention for the 2, 3 hours, whatever it is that I, you know, I'm sitting in front of television. So, and I basically, I guess these also are films. If you want to go to a movie theater and see a film, maybe you didn't see it on television, but a film even that you look back on, from your childhood, young adulthood, older adulthood, and say, yeah, that's a thing that I would definitely watch again. I think this is, one of those films that's close to, a perfect 10. So, Francis, since you are up there at the top,
Hmm.
you want to give us, start with your top two and why they make
Okay.
the top two of your list.
Okay. Well, first of all, similar to your criteria, my criteria has been since I first heard the story. that Howard Koch, who was one of the writers on Casablanca, uh, pointed out to the director, Michael Curtis, that there was a plot hole in the movie. And Curtis is said to have replied to him, "Don't worry, I'll make it go so fast nobody will notice." So that's my basic criteria. If you can make if you can make a mistake or something that doesn't quite come in there and it doesn't take you out of the experience, then it has succeeded in my opinion.
Right.
And there are a lot of things that I will watch if I stumble across it that definitely are not perfect films, although they can be very good. Like Men in Black is one. Anytime, whatever part I stumble across it, I will stay there. I don't know how many times I've seen it, but you know, the fact that it wasn't nominated for Best Picture isn't a surprise. But in the ones that are at the very top of it, the first one is for me is The Thing, the John Carpenter's 1982 version. And I think that it holds together very well because first of all, the casting was fantastic.
Yep.
And the fact is that it had the perfect environment. It had things where things made sense. There was a reason why they were isolated. There was a reason they couldn't do this. There were reasons for things that made sense. And it maintained this steady sense of dread and whatever that was going on. And it's something I saw in the video where they did a deconstruction of any movie named The Thing, meaning the original, the 2011 one that was like a prequel, and of course Carpenter's 82 version, which is like the thing, is that it had, it kept a level of tension going and everything, and it had a deliberately ambiguous ending, so you'd have something to talk about on the way out, and that's it. So it held together. The characters did things that made sense. um, it just holds up.
All right. So again, if anybody's in the room, the chat, you're watching, you have your uh, perfect 10 films. We'd love to hear you
Mhm.
tell us what they are and your rationale for having
Yeah,
them as a perfect
and your opinions of our informed but always correct analyses.
10. All right. So I got to admit to you that John Carpenter's The Thing is certainly on my list. It's one of the best
Mhm.
horror films ever made in my mind. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
Mhm.
So what is your number two?
And my number two on the list was one I mentioned first, which was Casablanca. There are four films that they always say, well, these are the four best films ever made. And that's one of the two that always ends up being one or two. But it was a but it was a group effort. They had three different writing teams. There were I think the Epstein brothers, who were Warner Brothers, like top tier writers. Then they brought Howard Koch in to bring in some of the other elements, and I can't find the guy's name. There's a third person that came in who didn't get credit, who did the part about the romance, which was a big thing in the middle, and that's what brought everything together because then it worked with that in it. And it has an endless number of quotable lines. It has a wonderful main and supporting cast. Even with it turns out that Peter Lorre's part basically comes out to being a cameo almost, but it is an important part that holds it together and everything. And it does have another one of those things where you said, okay, you know, it has enough ambiguity and a couple of things that happened that it made sense. And you have to say, well, was everybody being noble, or was everybody just pretending that, it did come out, which I won't go into because that might make a thing for another show about, things that happened that did it really happen one way and didn't happen the other way.
Mhm.
But it was fun to watch and everything. It kept things moving along, and of course ended up being endlessly quotable. for all the things to come up from. But there's gambling going on in this establishment. I'm surprised. So here you're winning. So thank you.
All right. Um, I guess Sonia, you ready for your first two? I would say
Okay.
top two, so it may not be in any particular order.
Actually, there's a tie for first, and there's all mine are on purely emotional because of the today's date um, goings. Because I will now be stopping to watch these movies anytime they come on.
Mhm.
So the top three tied, and my I have to warn people. My mom raised me to be a Disney-aholic. We will always try anything put out by Disney at least once, and if we would try it again. So, but the ones I remember the biggest that we would always stop and watch was The Rescuers.
Hmm.
She just loved the fact that it, even though she was a mouse, Disney finally had at that time a feminist character lead taking control of everything.
Oh, cool.
We loved Bianca, and we went around imitating Evan Rouge all the time. So that, and then because of the mother aspects, Bambi and Dumbo.
Oh, okay. All
Every
right.
time I hear that child of mine, I lose it, and I'm glued to my chair because I can't move.
Um,
And because she used to sing that to me too when I was upset.
um,
So, and then her favorite film, which I will now make a concerted effort to go find a DVD of it because we wore out her DVD of it, was The Thief of Baghdad 1940. And,
what a spectacular film. Agreed.
and there's
Agreed.
the family story behind that is when they came to the United States in 1951. She and her older brother played sick. So they wouldn't have to go to church on Saturday. We're Seventh-day Adventists, so church was on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So they left the kids alone because he was old enough, because he's 4 years
Mm-hmm.
older than her, that they could stay at home. Well, they've never had a TV, so they turn on this TV and this wondrous thing came on. They never knew what the name of the film was and all that. But then
Wow.
they heard the family coming up the stairs after church, so they quickly turned off the TV, not
Mm-hmm.
realizing that the TV stays warm, and they could tell that they had cheated. They broke the Sabbath and watched this movie. So she never
Oh,
got to see the end of it until 1980 something or
you
another.
gotta be kidding.
Never
Hmm.
got to see the ending of it, and I'm watching it, and just as it finished, the power went out.
Wow.
So it was meant to
Fantastic.
be. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
So
yes.
that, and she had never gotten to see all of oh, I'm blanking out on the name of it because I'm thinking too hard. Morgan Freeman and Shawshank Redemption.
Oh,
Same.
wow.
I even bought her a copy because it was on two tapes for VHS,
Mm-hmm.
and the second tape broke at the same spot, that so she never
Wow.
got to see the ending. I think just before she died, she got to see the ending of that.
Hmm.
But so those are my top two, and I have two more films that also have similar feelings
Hmm.
to them.
Well,
But yeah, so the top tied for top top is Rescuers, Dumbo, and Bambi, and then
Uh,
Thief of Baghdad.
okay. As a Disney fan, do you look at some of the criticisms they make of Disney about, like, that everybody's mother dies before the film starts and that kind of thing, and some of the other little things as distractions, or is that just part of the Disney thing that you just go with that because that's what it's going to be?
Well, her next tier film was 101 Dalmatians, and the mother doesn't die in that. I
yeah,
think
this is true.
before the 70s, that was the trend.
Yeah.
Cinderella, well, Aurora's parents don't die, but they're all put to sleep. Yeah, so, but
Mhm.
she didn't like the fluffy princesses because they
Mm.
weren't realistic, because they were all
Oh,
waiting
okay.
for their prince to come rescue them. Because I
Okay.
remember loving Cinderella until she pointed that fact out. I was like, Yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
she hate yeah. So that's why those three in particular did not have, and the mothers hung around. It
Mhm.
was the fathers that
All right.
weren't around. So
All right. Well, Otto, what are your two? What else? Your top two, but at least two that come from your list. Now, already Cranston is still this. What it's the thing, Casablanca, right? Was there another
Mhm.
one after the thing in Casablanca? Um, I guess it's the thing in Casablanca.
Yeah.
Okay. And Otto, how about you?
So I'm the opposite of Sonia's choices. I look for and thrive for dark spaces. I look for dark places, and so my thing is it has to be dark. It has to be a
Mhm.
character study. It has to be, to me, elevated, not a movie but art. So I look for art. So my in no particular order, my
Your
choice
first
were
two.
like, huh?
Your first two.
My first two.
Yes, everybody's
Um,
doing two at a time.
okay. Well, Sonia had more than two.
they
She
were
had like
the
You're all
seven.
three.
tied for first.
The three
What?
Mhm.
was tied. The three were
You're all
tied for
tied for
first.
first.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna cheat too, man.
Okay.
No, it's just a theme for those three.
Okay.
That's why they were
Yeah,
tied.
theme.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, all right.
all right. So anyway, in any event, dark spaces, character studies, elevated to art. Mine, one of them is the Treasure of Sierra Madre.
Yeah.
So it's dark. It's a character study. Study a character arc. It has a character arc. It's a roller coaster ride. It's in the music is classic. The direction is classic. The
Mm-hmm.
cinematography, there's no downside in my mind to it. And so to see it solidifies Humphrey Bogart as one of the greatest actors of cinema. And just and John Huston is one of the greatest
Mhm.
screenplay writers, um, along with his direction. And it just is such a really, it's a film also that you watch, um, like you're changing channels and you see it and you're like, I gotta stop just for a second, and then the next thing you know, the movie's ending. So that is a artistic, really satisfactory film to me, and it's also dark enough to satisfy my craving for human character flaws. I have to have that in there too. So
Mhm.
So what's your second one?
my second one, once again, dark character flaws, music elevated to art, is Midnight Cowboy. Um, so it's this country bumpkin basically coming to New York City, and what he encounters and who he encounters and what he tries to achieve, and he has no luck. He has no hope in achieving what he's trying to achieve. The music is incredible. Dustin Hoffman is tolerable. John Voight does an excellent job. Yes, he was once a good actor.
Yes,
Um,
that was the thing.
right. Yeah. And so direction is good, the music is good. It makes you think. It requires that you participate in the movie and have thoughts about the movie. And it's a discussion piece afterward. It's one of the first, I think, general release films to get an X rating, I think, at one point.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, and it's very dark, and some of the encounters that he has, the John Voight character has in New York City, um, are incredible. I love it.
Yeah.
I love the part where he gets to New York City and there's a dude laying on the ground in a suit, and everybody's walking by, and they see this guy in a suit, and yeah, okay, he's on the ground.
Yeah. And
That's
everybody's
him.
passing by.
That's the dude on the ground.
Yeah, that is
And
indeed what
so
that is.
yeah, so I love that. I love that darkness, and I all of my films are ties. There's no one above the other.
Hmm.
So I don't have So I'll sneak another one in there. I'll sneak another one in there, and the other one I would sneak is something that's surprising, I guess, to some people, but Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Beetlejuice, because I love the fact the Michael Keaton's acting
Yep.
is people don't realize how good he is in that film. He's really fantastic, and the way that the supernatural world or afterlife is shaped to be some boring administrative,
Yeah.
like going to the DMV or something, is inspirational. And Tim Burton, however he is now, did a really fantastic job
Yeah.
in describing this world that we've all thought of, but haven't thought about in this way.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we had another person here. Okay, Jet, another question for Otto?
Yeah, I was going to say, so are you going to see the sequel?
I don't know. Yeah, I will. I was
Yeah.
going to be hesitant and say a bunch of stuff that's whatever, but yeah, I'm going to see that.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to see it. I mean, regardless of how bad it is, it's probably not going to be as good as it's not going to be as good as the original. I don't have any high hopes for it, but the history of Michael Keaton is really interesting. I remember him early in the day when I was a teenager. He was on the David Letterman show. He was a comedian,
Mm-hmm.
and he was struggling comedian, blah blah blah. But and I think he did Mr. Mom
Mm-hmm.
for
Yes.
Beetlejuice and some other movies, and so he basically was a
Night
guy.
Shift.
I think,
Wasn't it?
yeah, oh yeah, and he was
Mhm.
a guy that basically it's like I got to make it, or I'm gonna get ready to go home.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that's what got him the Batman role, is Beetlejuice role. I think that he was willing to give himself up and didn't care whether or not he looked pretty or handsome or had white teeth throughout the movie, and that's what moved it for me. That helped moved it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
All
other
right.
thing it was interesting was the fact that when you first heard that Michael Keaton is going to be Batman, you said what?
Yeah,
But
Mhm.
he convinced you. They said he
Yeah,
pulled it off.
he did an excellent job as Batman.
yeah. I mean,
Also, he is the second best Bruce Wayne. I think that,
yeah, I agree. I agree with
yeah,
that. And I think if you thought that Tim Burton was going to pull somebody from Beetlejuice to be Batman, you thought it would be
yeah,
Alec Baldwin.
I absolutely thought it would be Alec Baldwin. Mhm. All right, we got NCE Amazing who's jumped in with us, and we asked you to we broached this question to him. Actually, this issue was brought up by him regarding films that we thought were real perfect, close to perfect tens. So, I wanted to ask you, NCE Amazing, what are your top two of your two films that you believe are perfect tens?
Your mic,
Yeah, you're muted. I don't know.
your mic's not coming through.
Yeah, your mic's not coming through. We can't hear you.
And let me say something else, Penelope,
Mm-hmm.
before EC gets started.
Uh-huh.
Do we get to go back and criticize other people's choices? Because I have criticism.
Sure.
Yeah.
Get back and criticize other people's choices.
I like doing that too.
Yes, I assure you do.
Yeah.
We aren't able to hear you. Let me see. Your mic settings. Yeah, we aren't able to hear you.
Yeah, we aren't able to hear me? Or?
Now we can.
Not
Yeah.
hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, before we can hear you. All right, great.
All right, yeah.
So tell us, what are your two, or at least the two that come to mind first?
So like I might have discussed this a little earlier, but so the first one, of course, I'll do the second one and then I'll do the first one. So number two is always going to be for me is I'm a huge I know you're talking about Batman and everything earlier on. Batman Mask of the Phantasm always comes to mind. Number one, because and both of these are going to kind of be like a little bit of nostalgia, but number one, I think Kevin Conroy, of course, does a really great job as Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Hamill, Kevin Conroy together, just playing opposite each other is always going to be epic, in my mind, no matter what, until the end of time. And in addition to that, if you watch Batman the animated series, the animation was good. The animation was good, But when you watch Batman Mask of the Phantasm, there's a noticeable jump in animation quality, the way everything's drawn, the way everybody moves, the way the action flows. It's like they were like, okay, we're taking it from like an 8 to a 10.
All right.
And the music is, I mean, the music has always been good, even in like Batman the Animated Series. So it was like, it's kind of like they kind of kept it consistent from one to the other. But then there's like the whole situation with like the Phantasm. You got Abe Vigoda in there, you know, as one of the crime bosses. He's great. You know, and to me, it was just like, I mean, as a kid, especially watching a movie, you watch Batman the Animated Series, watch with parents like every single week. And then to have a movie, it was like, wow, this is crazy. But then as a kid, it was just like, it's cool because it's Batman. But then as an adult, it's like, I can really appreciate the general quality, like the difference in quality between the show and the movie. And man, I just think about, man, what a great movie that was. I really love the story. I love how like the Joker, especially the parts where the Joker comes in and he's like, Batman's trying to figure out who the Phantasm is. But at the same time, the Joker is trying to figure out who the Phantasm is, and the Batman is kind of doing like, I'm investigating and stuff, and the Joker's like, "Hey, are you the Phantasm? No, all right, you're dead, man." You know, he was willing to like kill people and use other people as pawns in order to kill the Phantasm. So because he knew that he was on the list, you know, from the very beginning, he knew that somewhere on that list he's on it, and he's going to be one of the Phantasm victims, since you know they killed like Chucky Saul and Buzz Bronski, and you know he ended up killing Sal Valestra himself, but Sal was on the list too. So I mean, after everybody, he basically was like, "Oh, I'm next," so you know I might as well kill them before they kill me. But you know, I've always been a huge fan of like, you know, stuff like Batman kind of falls into what I would call the noir genre of things, you know, so that's always been a big deal for me. But my number one, like that, which I would say is like hits on pretty much almost all cylinders from start to finish, is The Mask with Jim Carrey. That movie like will forever be my favorite movie of all time. For one of the reasons is that my dad took me to go see, my dad and my little brother he took me to go see to see it. And man, as a kid, you know, growing up, I didn't really like shows with like the live action shows with actual people in them. Like if I saw, like as far as I was concerned, you know, you're watching like Kids WB in the morning, and it's like, oh man, you got Men in Black, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Card Captor Sakura, and then as soon as like Soul Train comes on, I'm like, oh, fun's over, man. Real people, forget it. I was even kind of like on the fence about Power Rangers because they had real people in those, but I like watching cartoons like Bugs Bunny. Daffy Duck has always been a favorite character of mine. Like I know a lot of people like Bugs, but Daffy has always been a hilarious character to me. I love Looney Tunes and stuff. And I felt like The Mask was kind of a marriage of like live action and cartoon, like just kind of like merged together. And as a kid, I was like, oh, okay, this is a great movie. Like I'm enjoying myself. Like I was glued to my seat. Like I could not take my eyes off of what was happening on screen. The way that they had like Jim Carrey playing Stanley Ipkiss, you know, the way that he plays it, kind of like, you know, it's like he plays it buttoned up, but there are times you can see where that persona is like just aching to burst out, just aching to get out into the real world, and he always pulls it back. He always pulls it back. Like even when Mrs. Peenman is yelling at him, he comes back after he gets the mask. His shoes are all wet and everything, and she's like, "Oh, my new carpet!" And then he's like, "You know what, Mrs. Peenman? What if this?" And then he just like, "Never mind." And he just like, you know, and then he says what he was going to say, like, "Aren't you due to get your bones tightened?" You know, he's like, "Oh, I should have said that." You know, that's something he would say, but he's like, you know, he's so like repressed that he can't do it. But he puts on the mask and he becomes all of that. And it's like not even just like, oh, I'm just going to go out and just, you know, do all this crazy stuff, do this, do that. No, it's like it's the way he does it, because it's this cartoony flair, because he watches like all those like old Tex Avery cartoons and stuff like that. So, you know, he falls on the ground, then he could have just as easily done anything. He could have done anything, but he hits the ground, he's all flattened and everything, and he does it like a cartoon, you know, all of it's, and and I remember watching the movie, and they get to the part where those punks come and try to attack him, and he just completely turns the tables on them. And then they run to the alley. He starts making the balloon animals. He makes the first balloon animal, and then he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a condom. Now, as a kid, I had no idea what that was. All the adults in the theater are laughing, and me and my brother, we're sitting there like, what kind of balloon is that? What balloon is that? I don't know. Then I got older and I'm like, oh, that's what that was. And I'm like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, wrong pocket.
Sorry, wrong pocket. And earlier on, I was talking about man, like there's just so much to this movie for me. I'm like, I could go on and on and on about it. Where he robs the bank, when like Dorian's gang is getting ready to rob the bank and they're getting prepared to go in, and they're like, the doctor is about to operate. And so they get off the phone with Dorian, they're about to come in, and then the mask just bursts out. He's got a big sack of money. And I remember seeing him do that. He catches all the dollars. I don't even remember what he said the first time, but as an adult, he gets the dollars, looks at him, he's like, sorry, fellas, waste not, want not. I'm like, oh man. And of course, in the Coco Bongo Club, after the dance with Tina, which was great, by the way, then Dorian's like, where's my money? And he starts he takes out the calculator, he starts calculating everything. And then of course at that point, Doc got shot by the cops. He's dead upstairs. So he says, fortunately, funeral bouquets are deductible. I'm like, my God. And of course, the Cuban Pete musical segment. I mean, my gosh, whoever thought of that? Genius, just genius. The way that, and it's like, it's just like this thing that he's doing. And then all of a sudden everybody's in it. Like bystanders, random bystanders, like all the cops, even like, what's called Doyle, like, the what's called the partner. He's all like, like man. That, and even like the very end of the movie, he throws away the mask, and then he's all like, it's just kind of like that indication that I can be myself. I don't have to be one or the other. I can be my whole self out in the open, which is, I mean, Ben Stein's character kind of alludes to that, earlier on in the movie, but he doesn't really understand that for himself until after he basically has to almost save everybody on his own without the help of the mask, So it was man, I love that movie. So that's definitely a movie that hits on all cylinders, start to finish. Like Otto said, every time I see that movie on TV, I'm watching it. Every time it shows up, commercials or no commercials, I'm watching it start to finish. Before I know it, the movie is over, and I've heard, hey, Pachuco, and I'm sitting there like, hey, Pachuco. Like that. Great movie.
Yeah. It's cool. And I'm going to sneak in one of my two of the ones I have. One, of my Shishi film, of course, is The Magnificent Ambersons, Orson Welles. And it is such a wonderful film to me because, it tells the story of privilege, and how people who are privileged think that they'll be privileged forever. And then as you watch it, and again, the whole point is people watching Georgie and waiting for his comeuppance. And then when the time comes, it's, nobody cares. So all this life that you're living, doing all these things, these expectations of privilege, and how it is that, that can be gone in a blink of an eye, or it can remain, or if your life is, if you're looking for the right things in your life, maybe, you can finally have some peace. Who knows? But I do love The Magnificent Ambersons also because part of it, they chronicle the change of century. And when they do it, they talk about the clothing, what people are wearing between one period and the next. They talk about the vehicles that they're driving, how it is that society is moving. And it's just really this wonderful chronicle of how the world is changing. And I think the book is Booth Tarkington's book, but what a wonderful job Orson Welles did in directing this film. All the actors. I mean, it is a quiet film, and I mean, you have to be there, sitting, ready to let this come to you, because it's a quiet film. And I think that most people, if we could, have the time to sit and watch it, what a great film. The other films that complete opposite end of the spectrum is Kung Fu Hustle and Stephen Chow's film, which is artwork. It is again, I guess, this this love like attraction that we have to the cartoon world. And this is like a live action cartoon. It is, in my mind, phenomenal. I mean, there are things that they show visually in Kung Fu Hustle that I never thought of, conceived of. The two assassins that are playing what I don't know what the instrument is called, but the two men who are playing the blind assassins. Wow. And how playing this instrument as they're playing the notes that they're playing are actually lethal. And then the three heroes that rise, to fight against the terrible axe gang, that is trying to infiltrate this area where all these very poor people live, their poor housing areas. So it's really just great. I know they has moments, that I think are, kind of like over the top that they could do without, but by and large, it is definitely for me a 10, i.e., I could watch it and then I could turn around and watch it again because it's that engaging, wonderful of a film. So yeah, that's definitely mine. So I don't know if you all wanted to go at this time to keep going on your list or wanted to address each other regarding the items that the other people had listed. Otto?
Uh,
Otto wanted to blast us, so let's have it.
Well, I think Cranston's choice of The Thing, number one, is problematic because that's not the title of the movie, is it? It's John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh my gosh. We know what he means.
And so
No,
I know what he means.
no.
I'm
Uh,
just saying
Actually, it's just the thing. They added the John Carpenter to it after all the releases came out and picked up in popularity because
and
it
so
matched the opening credits with the ones from the original. So it is officially the thing.
okay.
well, Cranston, that's what people know it as, John Carpenter's Thing. You can say
Okay,
whatever
great.
you want to. Well, it takes away from the movie. That's the thing. That's the thing for The Thing. Ha ha
What
ha.
takes away from the movie?
The John
Wait, what do
Carpenter
you mean?
moniker.
No, not. I mean, for you it did because I know you don't
You think for
generally
nobody
do
else
not
it takes
like
away
John
from it?
Carpenter. It didn't bother me. It didn't. It just because I guess again I'm trying to think whether I knew it was John Carpenter's The Thing when I started watching it because as well I would sit in front of the television or and a movie will come on and I may not even know what it's called. I'm just watching it. So
Yeah.
I didn't know I'd seen Psycho years before I knew that that was what Psycho was.
That's kind of it's funny because I watched this one movie. I think it was during the time we went to during a wedding in Florida, and me and my our brothers were sitting down. We're watching TV. It was an old like CRT TV, and we're flipping channels. And we
Mhm.
flipped onto this channel and we saw like this one movie and it's like they're robots but they imitate humans and then like if there's a human and they repeat the same phrase multiple times, oh that's a robot, so then it's and we watched that movie from wherever we found it at all the way to the end of the movie because why not, and it wasn't that great. But the thing was, I didn't know what the name of that movie was until like 10 to 15 years later. I had
Wow.
no
See,
idea.
that's I'll watch. I won't know the name of it is. I just watched the movie.
By the way, that's called Screamers for anybody who's
Yes,
What's it
interested.
called?
That's what Screamers.
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 Yeah, Screamers.
Screamers.
Okay.
There we go. Did that make your perfect 10 list?
No,
Oh, okay. I just wondered.
I would
Yes.
say bottom 10 more like it.
Okay. All right. All right.
Well,
All right.
the thing about Sonia's choices is that these notably these films wouldn't necessarily make anyone's list, but for their visceral reaction, right? Visceral reaction,
Yeah.
and also the animation has to be noted as well. There's fantastic animation of these films. You don't get animation like that anymore.
Right.
I mean, when they first came out, when the Rescuers first came out, it was like a throwaway
Yeah.
cartoon. I think it
Mhm.
wasn't a when it was released to theaters. If I recall,
Mhm.
it wasn't
Yeah.
like a standalone movie. It always had to be like with another
Yeah.
Disney movie,
It
like
was a
Gus the Mule
Double
or something
feature.
like that.
Yeah.
yeah, it was a standalone, but they didn't expect it to do much because it didn't have a princess.
Yeah, I don't
Right.
remember it ever being shown in the New York theater in a standalone. It could have been,
Yeah,
but
Mhm.
that's
it was
yeah, it
always
was. That's when I saw it when I got hooked. That's why I
and
I
remember that
remember when I was a kid that those
specifically.
Disney films always came with something else. For instance,
always came with
I remember
something
seeing the
else.
Jungle Book and the Charlie the Cougar was the
Yeah,
opening
yeah,
thing. It was always
Yeah,
it always came with something else. It was always like some
Mhm.
movie with Don Knotts in it or something, or Ed
Yeah,
Asner, you know what, like Charlie the
yeah,
Cougar,
mhm.
that I wouldn't
yeah,
see myself. That I had to like muscle through in order to see the animated version. But I certainly understand the visceral, reaction. The
yeah,
same thing with he's amazing. I think viscerally the mask, it just you can hear it in his voice when he talks about it, and I think that it's so many different um, scenes from that movie and Jim Carrey's performance. And Jim Carrey, I don't think he wanted to do a second one because I think he wanted to be taken as seriously as an actor, but it's one of the movies where he's under control and it
yeah,
pays off for the audience.
Yeah. It's I mean, in contrast, you look at, like, at least in my opinion, you look at a movie like Batman Forever where he's playing Edward Nygma, and
uh,
it's just like it feels like they didn't know how to keep him under control. Like, Edward, if you look at all, I mean, I guess, I mean, if you look at the because in my mind, right, I'm looking like Joel Schumacher has a particular brand of Batman he's trying to do,
mhm,
right? And at that point in time, the Batman that we're watching at that time is not the Batman that he's trying to do. It wasn't that kind of Batman. We had moved. I hate to say it, I don't want to put it like this, but this is the only way I know to put it. We had moved past that Batman at this
yeah.
point.
I
We
agree.
weren't really like doing the whole Adam West Batman anymore. We had moved on to like the Batman the Adam animated series thing. Like, you're thinking,
Right,
if I see Edward Nygma, I'm thinking Edward Nygma from the show, from the
right,
animated TV show, and he's like
yeah,
this, serious guy. He's like, I'm an intellectual. I'm smarter than you, and I all these riddles, I know the answers to them all, and I can throw in that riddle at you, and I'm such a genius that you won't be able to figure it out because that's how airtight it is,
right.
and it was
And
just kind
even
of
and even Gotham when the character Edward Nygma from Gotham was a much better conception of that character than what they did in that film. I just think they were just Jim Carrey was not given really a good character to work with, I think.
yeah, a little way, like, even
Well,
if you're going to go zany, he was way too
well,
zany in
Right.
that movie.
on this show, Penelope, and I heard this from
Yes.
Cranston, was the first time that I thought that I knew or found out that those Joel Schumacher Batman films, was supposed to be like a recreation or homage to the 1960 Batman. I had no idea.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? It's very interesting you say that. Something just ran through my thoughts, which is in the 1960s Batman films, the thing that they used to do, the climbing up the side of the building,
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then the opening of Joel Schumacher's Batman, the third Batman, so that Joel Schumacher did when they're driving the car up the side
Oh
of the building.
yeah, up the side of the
yeah,
building. Yeah.
yeah.
Just occurred
But
to
you know
me
what though?
that
I think if I had known that they were trying to do a 60s TV series Batman,
mhm.
I'm kind of divided and like taking my kids and maybe leaving them there because there's no
And
way.
not
There's no. I'm not watching that shit.
that's pretty bad. Mm.
Well,
Oh man.
now
But
kids
it's
can
still
call
fun out there.
DCF on you.
Yeah. And so, but you see, right now, just you said that, the thought came to my mind about that them walking up the side of the building, and then in the film, him having them drive up the side of the building.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it
but
didn't occur to me until just right then.
I didn't know that. So it's like the joke was on my ass because I wanted a serious Batman. I thought with
Well, I was so
Batman,
shocked. I was shocked by it.
yeah.
I really was.
Who told Schumacher to do that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it very. I think what I think from the way that I heard it, it was just that Batman Returns was it was a good movie, but it was a really
Mhm.
dark movie, and I guess like for some people that didn't translate to being family friendly. But I felt like I mean I watched that movie a bunch when I was a kid. I watched it several times, and it was all good to me. I loved it. I loved watching it with my family, by myself. I thought it was a great movie. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe I was just a weirdo.
Yeah.
Well, I think
No.
it was a case of, instead of making a movie about the character, it was too much interference for the group that we wanted to get. If you
Yeah.
like Batman, you're going to like a serious Batman, not something that's going to draw in this imaginary audience that people have never heard of Batman, but they'll come and see this. So
Yeah. But you have to understand also that after the first Batman movie from Burton, they had Batman the Animated Series on television, and
Yeah,
so
I
many
thought they had
children were
left.
introduced
I thought
to
they had left the
Batman the
'60s. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought they had left
'cause
that '60s TV series behind.
yeah, me too. Because I thought that they were keying in to the Batman the Animated Series, that more dark, noirish, 1920s diesel punk
mhm.
um, look. So yeah, it was very shocking. To go to this very, I mean, you're like Poison Ivy. This, you
It was so bad.
very
Batman
yeah,
with nipples. Batman with
Oh,
nipples.
oh yeah, Bat Nipples. Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember like was it Poison Ivy was in Batman and Robin, right? And that
yes.
Mhm.
was with the one with was it Arnold Schwarzenegger. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Freeze. Oh,
they were
cool
just
body.
And I
all over
was
the place.
and I feel so stupid because I think, oh man, Arnold Schwarzenegger gonna be Mr. Freeze. That's gonna be great. That's gonna be good.
Yeah, not exactly what we thought it would turn out to be,
That was
but
Yeah.
Got some
garbage.
ice.
And
yeah,
I thought Jim Carrey as the Riddler. I thought that was gonna be good, but never. He
I
was more
think
Frank. He was more Frank Gorshin than anything else.
yeah,
What also kind of annoyed me in Batman Forever was what do you call that? Tommy Lee Jones as Two Face.
oh
I
my
was not a
gosh,
fan of that. I was like, and
I
you
did
know what?
this
He was basically the Joker. He was
exactly. I
basically the
said the
Joker
same
flipping a
thing.
coin.
Yeah, it's just like the Joker. It was not, the Harvey Dent Two Face character.
Yeah,
And Penelope, go ahead.
but at the same time, at that point, like I said, we had moved past like at least in my as a child. I mean, I watched like the Adam West like show, and I loved it as a
Hmm.
kid. But I mean, the Batman the animated series took like my fandom to a completely like a higher level, man.
Right.
And the portrayal of Two Face in Batman the animated series, Big
Yeah.
Bad
Well, let me ask
Harv.
you this. Let me ask you
Yeah.
this. In the 19th, at Cranston, maybe Cranston knows. In the '60s Batman show with Adam West, is there one time when they show that Bruce Wayne's parents were killed in the alley?
Never.
Isn't that something?
He just
Wow,
shows up as Batman and no backstory at all.
wow.
In the 60s Batman series, it was a hit for ABC because I think the novelty was on twice a week and all of that.
Hmm.
But nowadays, if you look at it, where Batman is in the DC universe and everything, but they almost canceled the comic because of nobody was taking it seriously after that.
Wow.
Oh, wow. I
Oh.
believe it.
Now, Penelope, your Magnificent Ambersons, I think the reason that is good and enjoyable because it's, from a well-known novel, but also because Orson Welles, when he directed it, he didn't stick
Yes.
to the script. He let his Mercury Theater actors ad lib a lot of the stuff,
Hmm.
and so it takes it to such another level. I think, as far as art is concerned, in my mind.
Hmm. Yeah, I think what a great film. And again, it's a quiet film, and it's a character study. And I think it is very interesting how we don't necessarily get what we want when we want it, but who knows, right?
You know,
And
uh,
like Mask of
Hmm.
the Phantasm, Batman Mask of the I can understand the visceral um,
Hmm.
and love of the voice, but I think as story, do you think as a story, is it impenetrable as far as criticism is concerned?
I don't know.
I I like the story. I thought that they did a very good job the first time that you are watching it, that you do not realize what's going on till like the last third of the film. Do you start to piece this stuff together of what is happening? And I'm telling you, the Joker's laugh at that end was
Oh yeah,
so haunting. That
yeah,
is one
kind
of
of
the
chilling.
most haunting sounds. You know, um, I thought that was, and I really truly, and then you see a lot of character development with Bruce Wayne that you never got to see
Oh
in the
yeah,
show.
yeah.
So
They don't really explore that. They explore it a little bit, but not like
yeah,
that. Not like
yeah,
that.
they really explore a lot of his rationale for doing what he wants, what he's done, and also for him to. It's very different from like the Catwoman relationship. No, this is like he's thinking. I may be able to leave this all behind. You know,
Yeah. Um,
you know,
it's funny you mentioned that, and then the like him leaving it all behind, and when he goes to his parents' grave, and he's like basically begging them for forgiveness for basically for wanting to be happy,
yeah,
for you
yeah,
know, it's like I can give more money to the cops,
yeah,
it was yeah, man, wow, I had forgotten about that kind of like
yes,
yeah,
yeah. I thought that's why. Yeah, I do believe that it's well constructed. I think when we get to the denouement, that it is kind of it's surprising, it's shocking, a bit, and because this person, the Phantasm, is not like Batman, not by
yeah,
any stretch of the imagination.
yeah, and
Batman is tying you up and taking you to the cops. Phantasm is dealing with people.
yeah, for good. And
Yeah.
the thing is, when Batman is talking at the end, and it says, "But what will vengeance solve?" It's like if anybody knows the answer to that, it's you.
Yep. There we go.
Penelope, are we going to second round? Because I think once again Sonya named like 7 films in her thing.
I only named 4,
Oh,
Okay.
and that was because
Okay.
they were
speaking of
all
which,
in a group.
Okay.
speaking
Right.
of speaking of which, real if we're moving, I'd like related to what Sonia said earlier
Hmm.
about the rescuers. The Rescuers Down Under is a criminally underrated movie. That
Really.
movie is so good. It really
Huh.
is. It's like, like the
Tell us
interaction.
why.
It's the first off, the animation in that movie is ridiculously good. I mean, even as an adult, I'm watching the movie, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this animation, especially when I think the kid's name is Cody, when he's flying with the eagle, and like I mean the eagle is huge. Like this eagle
Hmm.
is ridiculously huge. And you're flying around and he's like throwing him up and getting caught, and then they're like doing the thing where the eagle's pushing him on the water, and then he jumps off of the waterfall, and oh man, I think like the voices, like what was it? I think Ava Gabor. I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's Miss
Yeah.
Bianca. Yes.
Miss
Yeah.
Bianca.
Mhm.
And
Um.
the guy,
Oh
oh,
man.
the
Uh.
Australian from, he was on General Hospital, I think. I'm gonna have to go look it up now.
Oh
I swear,
man.
Yeah.
I read all those books long before they were ever made into films when I was a little
Oh
girl.
yeah.
The Rescuers. I read the whole series when I was a little girl.
They had what was it? I think it was George C. Scott playing the bad
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a great bad guy! I remember this clearly in my mind when Cody's like, "I'm gonna tell on you for being a poacher, and you're gonna go to this, and the Rangers are gonna do this, that, and the third to you." And he like takes the kid's backpack and throws it off the cliff into the spot where all the alligators are. Oh, my poor baby boy! He laughs like a crocodile. Boo! Man, what a
Wow.
monster.
Hmm. Wow. No. So
Yeah, that's a
yeah,
good movie, man.
yeah, there.
John Candy, oh, man. Oh man, it's I think
Yeah,
Wilbur.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
man.
really great when you get these films. You remember
Tris-
how good some of these films are.
yeah, Tristan Rogers, because I remember when he showed up on General Hospital, my mom went, "Can't be the same guy. Can't be the same guy." Yeah, mom,
That
it's the
was excellent.
same guy.
Cool, cool. All
Yeah.
right. All right. So, Cranston, we started with you. What's your next pick on your?
Okay. Well, as I was putting this list together, there were two things that surprised me was the movies that I included, and then one that I wouldn't normally think of,
Mhm,
and that was it. And then I could and how easily it was to say, yeah, well, this one was good, but not quite that good. But
mhm.
the next group, this all of these come together, and okay, wait a minute, and I'm girding myself for getting hit on these, but this was probably through what I consider probably his best movie period, the golden period. And as somebody whose reputation as a genius still stands, but as a person, I think they're going to kind of reevaluate a lot of things from that have happened with him from that. But that is Stanley Kubrick with what is probably for me his like golden period, and these all came in sequence, starting with Doctor Strangelove, 2001, and A Clockwork Orange.
Uh,
And there were problems with all of these later when they came out with Doctor Strangelove. He had wanted Peter Sellers to play the all four parts. He wanted him to be the Major Kong, and Sellers was not comfortable with it. So the story is Sellers said that he had twisted his leg so he couldn't fit in the cockpit, so they had to recast that one. There were incredible things they did with people like leaving people hanging in the air for 16 hours during 2001. And there's this big thing that when they did A Clockwork Orange, for some reason, the publishing house had published an American version of the book and a British version of the book. The British version of the book had an additional chapter that Kubrick just ignored. The American version is the one he used, where the last line in that section is where Alex says, I was cured all right. And then, of course, there's a whole other thing about Shelley Duvall and with The Shining, which I didn't put on the list because it was okay, but I really didn't like The Shining
mhm.
for a lot of reasons and everything.
Yeah.
But those three movies and stuff pretty much are they go along for me with what Otto said about having a darker edge to all of them, and the characters act like people who are actually thinking things through, as opposed to things just happen to fall in their laps or whatever. And so I would go along with those three. So that was my next group.
Mhm. All right. All right. Uh, Sonia.
Okay. I have two musicals, only two musicals left on my list, and they're for exact opposite reasons why I enjoy them.
Where are they?
When I need a pickup, even though it's kind of dark, I watch Rocky Horror. Not the special effects on, just watch the movie. I have
Mhm.
a roommate, dear roommate, that every time that movie comes on, we stop everything, we watch it, we laugh, we cheer, we heckle the movie in our own way, not the programmed ways.
Mhm.
And it just makes us, that's our release.
All right. Cool.
That's why I like it. On the other end of the spectrum is another musical. They made they filmed George Takei's Allegiance, and it just, to know what my country was capable of during World War II and know that it's still capable of doing some of those atrocities and everything, and people, I know somebody who will actively not hang around Asian people because all the atrocities they did to us, and I'm like, do you know all the atrocities we did to them here in the United
Mhm.
States?
Yeah.
And it's a history, as a history buff, to see that I've seen it now like 3 times,
I
and
didn't know it was
every
filmed.
time I cry, I laugh. I feel all the emotions, everything.
I
The
I didn't
last
know it was filmed.
Yes, and they showed fan. If you can, I'm gonna do the un. They're not sponsoring us. Hopefully, one day they will. Phantom Events brings things like the Met and all of that. They filmed it and they put it in the screen. And it used to come on every day around Pearl Harbor Day, and
Okay.
I would just every time it comes out, I have to see it because
Wow.
it just and the depth and the fact that George Takei's trying to sing. That part makes me smile a little bit, but
Mhm.
still the emotions behind it and the actors aren't usually Teddy Leung and oh, see, I'm blanking out on names because I'm trying to remember names.
Mhm.
But she does a lot of voiceover stuff for Disney as well, which is
Mhm.
why I was surprised that Disney didn't do it. But it's just those two just and it was one of the last musicals I got to see with my mom and she loved musicals too. So see it's also ties back to the mom because it's
Right.
her birthday. But just seeing that I wish I could get everyone to see that. It's just yeah,
I didn't even know.
touching. And it
All right.
covers all the ends of the spectrum from the people who joined the service because they thought it would help their families to the people who wanted just the activists who do and the older folk who are just we just have to survive and keep
Mhm.
our personal joy. That's I think my main thing, keeping that personal joy alive and trying to find the joy in even the simplest little things.
All right. See, I remembered that. I thought it was a graphic novel. I did not know that it was a film.
It was a musical, it was a play on Broadway. Well,
Hmm.
first it was off Broadway, then on Broadway, then they filmed it, then he did the graphic novel.
Yeah, I remember the graphic novel. I did not know that it was a film before it was a graphic novel. All right.
So
Well, Otto, do you have anything new to add? Yours.
Well,
Your list?
they should have showed that film during August 6th and 7th, which were the anniversaries of the atomic bombs being dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And I was reading about those stories in the New York Times. I think somebody did a documentary about it. The people who survived that blast are really elderly now; they're dying off. But the 200 to 300,000 people killed instantly, and then the from the eyewitness testimonies, people walking around like swamp thing with their skin hanging off like seaweed. And one of the kids was saying that she remembers during that time that the skin lesions on everyone was so horrible that it attracted flies, and she remembered taking chopsticks and using it to pick the maggots out of the wounds of some of her classmates. And so
Mm.
the atrocities that we do to each other, and is there someone to blame? Probably. You can always say the stupid thing both sides, but it's something special. Um, my movies are, of course, King Kong, which I love, which is also dark, literally and figuratively dark.
Mhm.
About a monkey being loose in Manhattan is really dark.
Mhm.
The other one is Rosemary's Baby, once again set in
Mhm.
New York. A woman who's pregnant and lonely in a city full of millions. Just a fantastic thing. And I don't really recommend a lot of recent films, but one recent film that I would recommend that people see is RRR. And so if you get a
Yeah.
chance to see that,
Oh my gosh.
it'll change a lot of outlook on how you view
Yeah.
India and how you view the English and the British altogether, the colonialism that occurs, and then after that, go and worship the king and queen, and go and stay up, get up early in the morning and watch whatever royal wedding they have after you watch this,
You know.
because it's very true. It's very true. So RRR, King Kong, Rosemary's Baby.
Wow. I forgot about RRR. Yeah, that is a
Yeah.
fantastic film. Wow. I remember we were up. It was like 10 o'clock at night, So okay, this is well, I wanted to start watching it, so we watched it. It's like a 3 hour long movie on like a Wednesday night, and we
Wow.
watched the whole thing, all of it. What that is, it's close to a perfect 10. It probably you're ever going to get. RRR. I mean, it did everything. It hit everything. What a fantastic film.
Yeah.
Fantastic film. Evan, I know you just touched a little bit on the Rescuers Down Under, but did you have another set of films, a couple that you ranked that high? I mean, you don't have to, throw them up there, but if you do, what are they?
So there's one film, that you were the one who got it for me. I don't know if you remember. It's like the Zatoichi, like the first Zatoichi film. I rank that movie pretty high. It's, I mean, the fact is, it's like it's one of those. It's like he's come to this one town and he's there to do a job, pretty much, but that he believes that he's there basically, kind of like as low key kind of an enforcer, but he's not trying to do too much because he doesn't really want to kill people like that. But I mean, he's completely capable, even if other people don't believe he is. And I just really like the relationship between him and the rival swordsman, how they were basically friends. And his rival is pretty much dying, I think, of like tuberculosis or something.
Mm-hmm.
And his goal is to die in battle. And he's like, wow, if I could just fight Ichi and die, like that would be the way I wanted to go out. And it's like they both, and like Ichi's kind of, I don't want to do that. I don't want to fight you. And like circumstances basically lead to them having to fight each other. And the fight that they have at the end, it's not even that long. It's about like maybe a couple minutes long, but the end of it is so great. And then the guy is just like that look of satisfaction on his face, like, oh man, I'm so glad that if I was going to die, I was going to get killed by you. And Ichi is just the complete opposite spectrum. He's just like heartbroken that he had to fight him, and it's just like it's
Mm-hmm.
so sad, man. I love that. I love that movie a lot. It actually, I ended up watching pretty much all the movies after that. I just watched them like every day. I was like, oh man, I gotta watch another one. Maybe two in one day. Sometimes there are a lot of Zatoichi films, and a lot, they're really good.
A lot of people don't know who Zatoichi is. You should explain.
Oh, okay. So the Zatoichi, it's like a Japanese film franchise. And it's about a blind swordsman. You've probably heard of it before. It's the blind swordsman, the wandering blind swordsman who goes like from town to town. He helps out people, but mostly by killing other people. Sometimes by just doing random things. Like he's also a masseuse. He's because that's his trade, right? By trade, he's a masseuse, but he also is a swordsman because it's a tough world and people try to take advantage of you. And he's like basically made a decision that I'm not going to be taken advantage of. Even though I'm blind. And it's a great film franchise. Highly recommend it. It's so awesome. Another movie I would say was really good, and this is goes back to my noir fixation, is was it The Killing? It's a Krantz was talking about. It's a direct Stanley Kubrick film, and what he ended up doing is that, like, I think the only, if you can even call it that, the only pitfall in that movie would be the voiceovers that were done, because they didn't really need that. It was kind of extraneous. You didn't really need the voiceover, but everything else, I love. Like all the actors, like Sterling Hayden is great. Elijah Cook Jr., like the facial expressions that he makes when he realizes that, like, that his wife is showing up to like the meeting spot, and that he's like, oh, that's my wife. And everybody's looking at him like, you told your wife about our heist plan? And he just like, oh yeah, she was just here to check up on me. And the guy just slaps the mess out of him. And slaps him. You clown! Come on, clown! Sing us a chorus from Pagliacci. Like, man, I love that movie a lot. Like that movie is so good, and the way that things just get turned upside down, and it doesn't take a long time. I mean, it's kind of in the works, like bubbling beneath the surface. But the moment that things like go completely upside down for the whole crew, it starts and it's over in about like 10 seconds. It's all it takes. It's like 10 seconds.
Yep.
I would say that that's a good movie to watch as well. Another movie, another noir film, Asphalt Jungle, is another one. You know, another movie that Sterling Hayden was in, and it's just another heist film that just like it stinks because you have all these heist films that just kind of like go completely awry, and this is not no exception. And it's like, you know, so many things just go wrong. The plan is simple, to the point, and there's always that one thing that's out of place, and then everything just goes completely haywire. So I mean, the thing where the doctor gets caught, I always think about the fact where he's basically gotten away at that point in the movie.
Mhm.
He's already gotten away. He's sitting there watching that young woman dance, and the driver's like, "Hey, we need to go." He's like, "Hold on, one more minute," and you know, it's like, and the cops just happen to show up. They don't even know he's there, but they just happen to show up, and they're sitting there and they see him in there, and it's like, "How long have you guys been standing there for?" We've only been here for about 5 minutes. He's like, 5 minutes, just 5 minutes,
That's
man.
right.
So
Could have been gone.
so on the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of like heists, one movie that I've seen like a couple times and I really enjoyed, and I enjoyed every single time I see it, is The Sting. That movie is so
Mhm.
great. That is
Yeah.
such a good movie. And like the one thing that is burned into my brain, really burned into my brain, is when at the very beginning of the movie, when Robert Redford's friend Luther gets killed at the very beginning, and they're like, "Yo, you got to get out of here, man!" And Luther's there, lying on the ground, dead. And he takes a good hard look at him. He's like that look like, "I'm gonna get the guy that did this to him," and then he runs off.
Mhm.
That's for some reason that always stuck with me. That look that he had, like, like you
Mhm.
know, man, that movie is so good. The way that
Yeah.
everything plays out,
Yeah.
but perfection.
Yeah. It is a lovely film. Um, I want to throw in my two that my list. Well, one of them again, it's a gangster film, Angels with Dirty Faces.
Oh man, yeah.
That is a film that Otto introduced me to, and I thought, wow, wow, what this is. I mean, it's like, what is the other one? White Heat, and what's the third one? But Angels with Dirty Faces to me is the best of the three, in the sense where you have an individual who takes a certain turn in his life, and the ending of the film, is so good. I think, that to see these children that he comes in contact with, and they live in poverty, and from where they're starting now that nothing good is going to happen. And especially when they're looking at this guy who is a dangerous criminal, and they want to shape themselves, to be like him. They admire him, they idolize him. So I think that's a great film, and I think.
Do you think it's interesting that, in this movie, it's kind of introducing the Bowery Boys? I mean, the story happens in the
Yes.
Bowery. Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that it's interesting that they turned the Bowery Boys into based on their originations, um,
Mm-hmm.
they turned them into a comedy kind of trope?
I think maybe because it's kind of heavy, and maybe they wanted to back up off of the possibilities, and maybe to show, based on how it is that film ends, that maybe this is where they end up, that they don't, go that way. They do some other crazy stuff, but it's not going down that road, you know. And so maybe that's what they thought about. And I mean, I love the Bowery Boys. I watched it when I was growing up as a kid. Absolutely loved it. But I think I think it possibly is that they just wanted to show that these guys did not end up like he did, you
Right.
know. And the other thing I want to say is that my list cannot be complete without Black Panther. I mean, that is, a new film, basically, that tried to hit again on all cylinders. The one part that I take issue with is the segment at the end where they had the CGI fight scene, which I think was
Obligatory.
I know, but they could have been better. The animation could have been better. So that's the only thing I take issue with. But otherwise, great film. I mean, we saw it three times in the
Hmm.
theater.
Not counting at home.
Yeah, 3 times in the theater we saw it. We paid 3 times to see that film. So yeah, I thought, wow, Coogler did such a wonderful job with the material and with the budget that he was given. And again, I have to say that when they gave him that $250 million to make that film, they knew that they were in the catbird seat. They couldn't lose because if he did a great film, then they get paid, and if he did a crappy film, they would never have to do another black superhero film again. They'd say, "Look, we gave them the money. They tried. It was just totally, was a bomb." I think that's what they would have preferred.
So
And
they had the
no,
cake. They had the cake and they ate it too. So
absolutely,
they were successful, and they
yep,
never had to do another black superhero film again.
that's right. That's what they think.
Well,
But
the other thing about that was that they did like auditions that said, okay, it's good that they introduced the character, but essentially they had to give Black Panther like 2 auditions before they said, yeah, people will come and see this, which is kind of, you
Well,
know,
yeah, what is it? What is it? That first Captain America
yeah.
film, the second one, Captain America Civil Wars, that
hmm
he was in that one.
Hmm.
And he had his whole little section there. But I think, wow, what a mess that you have to audition to do your own film.
Hmm.
But
Well, Feige said he wanted to do it first, the first phase, but that the bank wouldn't let him do it because they held all the money and all of that, and they held the control. So they had to make money first so that they could make the films they really wanted to make.
isn't that amazing?
So
They come up with so many
Yeah.
damn. They come up with so
yeah,
damn excuses, and we believe them all because and they're all based on racism. It's like when they don't want to do something because you're black, they come up with these fantastic,
yeah, it was that.
excuses.
What was it?
But they're very
Arvard.
creative. They're very creative.
Mhm.
When they want to impose some shit on you. They want to
Yeah,
say
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
that's Arvard. Was it Arvard? I can't remember the name of the guy that was supposedly in charge of Marvel movies because the merchandise. He was actually in charge of the merchandising. We can't
Mhm.
sell black toys. We can't sell women toys.
Wow, how untrue is that?
Wow.
Well, I
Yeah.
remembered that Feige had originally said, well, the reason it took us so long to do it was we wanted to make sure that we could do it right to create the world. And I said, you mean like Asgard? So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
Come
right.
on, man. They're
Come
so
on,
full of
come
shit.
on.
They're so full of
And
shit.
they've
Yeah,
It's like
also mentioned that as of now, they are 5 years behind on doing the Blade reboot or whatever it is they're
wow.
going to do.
you know what?
Yeah.
Let's go to South. Let's get our shit together. Go to South Korea. Get our shit produced and
Yeah,
show
yeah,
it. And FT people. Next thing you know, they're giving us Oscars.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. There we go. Yep,
Because
yep,
it's stupid waiting around for Hollywood to do whatever.
yeah. It goes somewhere that's gonna make it.
You go to
But
Nollywood.
I'm looking at our time and we're kind of going over. So
My
I
number
just
one
wanted to.
film. My number one
I,
film. Perfect 10.
I know
Treasure
it is.
Sierra Madres.
Really.
Yep.
You know what? I thought this was on your list you did not mention, and I thought it was definitely going to be The Bride of Frankenstein.
Nope.
Nope.
You know,
Fell out of favor.
Okay, fell in favor. All right, all right.
Wow.
one I'd like to mention real quick.
Hmm.
Roaring Twenties.
Yeah, that is really good too. That is really good too.
Heartbreaking film. Heartbreaking.
Yes.
It's a heartbreaking film, but some of that I see a young boy couldn't be older than 15. Bam! He won't be 16.
Wow. I
Well,
mean, I'm sorry. As I
Humphrey
see, whenever
Bogart.
you see Humphrey Bogart in your film, it's like I always say, "Oh no, James Cagney is Humphrey Bogart. He's going to steal your money.
He's always gonna screw you over somehow.
He's
He's gonna
gonna
find a way.
He's gonna steal your money, don't you know?" But I got to tell you, when I saw The Treasure of Sierra Madre, that is when I realized that, my God, Humphrey Bogart is a master at this craft. I did not know until I saw that film, and I thought, wow, wow. I mean, he just runs from every
I mean,
emotion.
can you think of many movies where you start off like really loving the character, and at the end you hate them?
Yeah.
Maybe Psycho. There's few films like that where you
Mhm.
absolutely this guy is a good guy. I'm all in, and this
Yeah.
guy is the most disgusting piece of dirt. It's like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that film, he just, every possible emotion there is, he has hit it. And to become someone that, you have pity for, then you think is a jerk, but then you think, no, this guy is really greedy,
Mhm.
self-interested, evil. I mean, what in the world, And again, the old man tells him that gold, it will mess with you. And I think it's very interesting when they are trying to figure out how to separate, parcel out the gold as they are mining for it. And he's like, whatever it is that you watch him, and whatever it is that they're saying, however it is that they want to do this thing, he agrees with it. You know, he doesn't argue with them. He doesn't give a whole lot of opinions. He just agrees with them and moves on. You know, and it's just really interesting as he sees them, or at least one of them, start to go a little crazy,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and there's nothing really you can do, or at least he can do, or knows even from experience to stop them. Because
money
once you
changes,
get
money
yeah, it
changes,
changes. Yep.
money changes people. Success changes people. Just a simple,
Hmm.
straightforward character.
Yeah, it was great, just great. That is a marvelous film. And for people that have not ever seen it, you you're definitely um, what do you call it? Just to punish yourself for not being able to see it, because it is a wonderful
So Penelope,
character.
is it your 10 movie? Is your top 10 movie too?
That is definitely one of my top tens. Yeah,
Is it the?
that I don't know if it's the top 10, but it certainly is in my top. It is a 10. It is a 10. But of the tens, is it the 10 that's at the very top? And for other reasons, I can tell you the Goofy movie also makes a 10 for me. I can watch a Goofy movie and turn around and watch a Goofy movie again. It is, definitely animated,
Uh,
definitely Disney. Hmm? But
yeah. I had no choice, so I understand.
yes, you no choice, because one of the children, the younger ones, wanted to watch that film over and over again, and unfortunately, also knew how to work the what you call it, the tape player, DVD player, so he do it himself. So it's not like you had to do it for him. He figured out how to do it himself. So you had to watch it over and over with him. But I got to tell you, that is one of my favorite films. It
Good
is,
movie.
a great film, especially if you watched the Goof Troop ever, which I did, when kids were very young, and Max thought Goofy, his dad, hung the moon, and then you see the Goofy movie where he is apparently not ashamed of his father, of being associated with him, afraid of ever growing up to be like him, and it was such a shock, as a parent of children that are growing up. You're like, oh my gosh, it's going to happen to me. My children, are going to at some point become ashamed, embarrassed to be around us. And oh my God, but what a great film, not just for the children, but parents, aunts and uncles. People have children in your lives, and you think that you're always going to be, that cool aunt, uncle, parent. And no, things will change. I
Actually, I was gonna say, actually, I remember watching it, and the child I was watching it turned to me and went, "How come they don't show other black fathers like that?" And I'm like,
mm,
"Excuse me?" And they're like, "Well, Goofy's obviously a black father."
well,
And I was like, "This kid is astute."
I mean, I
Yeah.
I just looked at it, I'm glad that people saw it. Many people saw it and kind of identified, Goofy
Hmm.
as, a black father, who is careful, regarding sort of caring of his son. And also you have Pete, who's a crappy father, but they're friends. But Goofy still holds his position and wanting to do right by Max. Even though Max is trying to assert his own individuality, and
Mhm.
it's that this is a thing that is going to happen.
Hmm.
This is a thing that is coming,
Yep.
and you have to be able to deal with it. I told my sister about it. She said, "Oh my God!" It's the first time she saw that film, she was verklempt.
Not the best title. Not the best title. It's like
Yeah, yeah,
you don't expect the movie to be like it is.
Yeah.
yes, yes. Very poignant. Very. It's an excellent film, and that also to me is a perfect 10 film. And
Is your perfect? Is it on the mountain of your 10 films or your top 10
it's the
pantheon of 10?
it is in my pantheon of 10 perfect
Is it?
films.
Is it? Is
It's
it
the
the
number
It movie?
one. I don't know. The Matrix also makes my list. The first
Do
one.
you?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to tell you this. I gotta leave. So
Well, we miss you very much. Thank you for
Thank you.
bringing
Stopping
all your
by,
wisdom,
yeah.
yeah, to this. It's
yeah,
been wonderful. Thank you.
I had a good time, yo. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us. So
What's your
I got to
What's your It
how
movie?
if I had to pick one, that's gonna be at the very, 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 very top. And I had to watch it all the time. I couldn't watch any other
Well, no,
movies.
I mean, what are you, hell or heaven?
I don't know. I don't know. All of those are tens to me. And I don't know if I could pick one as, the 10 is 10. But I do have to also say this is a honorable mention for me.
What?
She's going through the notes, or did she freeze?
I
She's
don't know.
thinking.
I think she froze.
What's
Yeah,
the honorable mention?
she froze.
It froze. It's like, okay.
She'll
Well,
be
let's
back in a
move.
minute. But in the
Let's say,
meantime, the other two on my list that surprised me, the three on the list was would be Chinatown, um, Citizen Kane, and the one that really surprised me is it was Psycho.
Psycho.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Well,
remember seeing all three of those when I was younger and not being okay. Psycho did freak me out, but I remember not being. It made a more indelible print when I was an adult than when I was
Mhm.
younger.
hmm
Psycho still had the same effect. I'm not showering. That's
you're
how
not shot.
unnerved I was. So I'll take a bath. I will
Hmm.
sponge bath, whatever, to have my back where somebody could get aim at it. No. Even I remember doing that when I was younger when I first saw it, and then as I saw it in college, I watched it in college at the college theater. The college had a little theater type thing. Saw it then. No, same effect, but the other two made a much more positive effect on me as when I saw them as adults than when I saw them as a child.
Well, I can see Psycho. I mean, Psycho to me is like, Hitchcock has this reputation of storyboarding all of his movies, and Psycho seems like one of the most storyboarded movies I've ever seen. I mean, it's everything is so seamless.
Hmm.
Moving from
Hmm.
scene to scene, and the big surprise. Usually, the big surprise is at the beginning and at the end, but but in this movie, Psycho, it's at the beginning and the end.
Hmm.
It's at the beginning where Janet Leigh goes down, and then it's at the end where you find out what's going on with Tony Curtis. So, I mean, excuse me,
Tony Perkins.
Tony Perkins. So,
Perkins, yeah.
yeah, it's just it's I mean, technically, musically, it's hard to disagree.
Hmm.
It's hard to disagree. I would disagree with you, Cranston, about the the movies of Kubrick,
Hmm.
except for Clockwork Orange, which I think is a masterpiece. Which makes me think that if Kubrick could do that, he could do a movie and keep his attention from beginning to end. It seems a lot. It seems to me that Kubrick has an attention span, of like 15 minutes or so, and then he goes on, and then 15 minutes later he's interested again. He's not consistent in his narrative. But in Clockwork Orange, is perfection, and I think it's one of his most controversial films, other than Eyes Wide Shut, which was to me absolute garbage.
Yeah, Eyes Wide Shut is a kind of a hard, because you think about it after you've seen it, say, what was this about? Why was I watching this again? So
Right, right. But it's supposed to be some sexual. I never seen it. I have no reason to see it. I mean, I guess it's about some sexual adventurous a couple that have these like parties with other people of like mind. Is that it? Or
I think from what I understood, it's the husband who has it, and the wife unwillingly goes along, and it takes
Hmm.
a toll on her. But I have not been
who's
able to
who,
watch that all the way through.
who's seen it? Cranston, have you seen it?
yeah, I've seen it. It's one of those things that you keep watching because you want to see what's going to happen next, and it never really comes. It's like I'm going to watch this to see it's going to fall into place somewhere along the way, and it doesn't. Um, but again, it's kind of like you tread on your reputation for being a genius, and so people don't want to say, well, maybe it's not, but it is, and that's what it is. It trades on that. But other two was like the two that were almost made the list for me was Godfather Part One and Two.
Now, how God? Okay, so if you had to choose between one and two, which one would you choose?
Uh, I think I think two is actually kind of a better movie, but it would be one, because it was just so it was kind of like a whirlwind experience. You're just so caught up in it. And it had the one thing that keeps it from being on the list is this one plot hole that everybody stares in the face and one and nobody ever mentions it. And that's when Michael, he leaves the gun, takes a cannoli, goes over to the old country to hide out. Kay comes by to see how he's doing. She talks to Tom, who says, well, he's doing okay, but we're trying to keep him safe and everything, and that's it. So then we go and spend 20 minutes in Italy to see what he's been doing while he's away.
Right.
Okay, he comes back. And at no point does Kay ever ask him, well, what have you been doing while you've been over there? Anything like that. And he never volunteers it.
Right. Right. That's a weak spot in the film.
So that's it. And they never address it. In fact, as far as I know, they never say who was trying to kill him and did he ever catch him, because he knew they were trying to blow him up. And they never say, yeah, well, I caught them or anything like that. But
everybody's trying to kill him.
Yeah. But the good thing about it is the thing that makes it work is because it's such an engaging trip that you don't think about it when it happens. You just go along with all the other stuff that happens with it. And
because it happens so beautifully. I
mean,
it's the cinematography and the acting is so smooth. It just almost lulls you to sleep. It's watching a beautiful movie. And if you're watching a beautiful movie like that, you're willing to give it room, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I missed what you all were saying because for some reason my internet just turned off.
Yeah, it turned off for everyone except for me.
Oh, okay. Everyone left but you?
No,
It turned off for everyone in our home except for me.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I was gone. I was wow, what happened?
Your
Okay.
internet. You forgot to pay your internet bill.
Oh no. What film are we talking about that's so beautiful?
Well,
We were talking about Godfather 2.
Oh, yes. That's a beautiful film.
see, that's the way I felt about Shaft. It was beautiful to watch. Seeing they actually shot it in New York. The music was great, and then I was like, but he doesn't act like any of the detectives because my mom worked ER emergency, so I got to see all the detectives all the time. They don't act like that. So that was the disconnect for me even as a child. But man,
So
to
when
see
you
a strong black man on TV like that, on this big screen like that, as an
little question.
impressionable kid from the sits on the questionable kid, that was impressive.
So when you said they don't act like that, what was your experience.
I think it's because I was the nurse's daughter. They treated me a little different. So to see them acting rough and all that and
Uh,
beating up the perp and all,
But understand
oh,
though, Sonia, he's a private dick,
it's still he was at one time a police officer, and
but he's
that's
a
what's
private dick
I
now.
know, but that stood in my head, and
hmm
it just
yeah,
And
as
but
a
to be
child
honest,
that disconnect. But I did like watching a strong black man on the big screen.
he
yeah.
didn't act like any black man I knew either, private dick or otherwise. I just
hmm How about just a regular dick?
Well,
not
hey,
even
this Cat Shaft is a bad mother. So,
Shut
Yep.
your
shut your
mouth.
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 Talk about Shaft. We can
Yeah.
dig it.
They can dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but all those films kind of stuck in. Those are kind of like my nine, not eight-ish nines. All the
You had like
Pam
15 films.
Grier.
Sonia
hmm
had
No,
she had
I'm
15 films.
okay. My all my films right to this day because of today is tied to my
hmm
sentimentality.
Sonia,
Right.
It'll
pick a
probably change
Sonia, pick a
again.
film. Pick one
Huh?
film that's at the top of your list. That's a 10.
hmm
Rescuers. Rescuers.
hmm
That's the one I have the deepest commitment to. In fact, I'll probably watch it late tonight when I wake up because she was I was
hmm
supposed to watch it last night, but I fell asleep. So I'll probably watch it tonight to
mhm.
remember her by.
hmm I'm going to tell you also, Sonia, I really do also love a lot of The Thief of Baghdad.
Oh
That
yeah.
is an
Okay.
extremely beautiful film.
It's not a
We have
perfect film, but
It
it's
is
a
an
very
extremely
good
beautiful film.
film.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you the quick synopsis of another reason why it's on our top.
hmm
My mom used to sneak into class with me. I had a film music class or film genre class, and my teacher would always show different types of film to illustrate his genres.
hmm
One time he pulled in the original Thief of Baghdad and pointed
hmm
out that his father was the big ape's handler in the original film,
Hmm.
which
The
made a
Douglas
tie.
Fairbanks?
Yep, which made a
Yeah.
tie between him and my mom, and that was the reason why she finally got to see all of Thief of Baghdad.
Cool.
So that's that. It's again that emotional tie. But okay, so Thief of Baghdad's probably tied with Rescuers on that
Yeah,
point.
I
I
really
can't
did like that film.
You want to
because
add any other?
It's
You want to
beautiful
add
film.
any
no,
other films to your top
that's why
10?
I said eight or nines.
You got
I'm
one
not gonna
one
say.
A.
Wait, okay, I got another one. As an honorable mention, we watched last night, and that is the first Austin Powers film
Oh yeah.
because I think it is so clever and it was so much fun. And then the thing just fell off the rails with its ensuing sequels. But that first film, so clever,
It's
so
so
much
clever.
fun.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
some of it are kind of it's kind of awkward,
yeah,
sexually
some of it
awkward.
gets that it's a little
That's why she said honorable mention.
yeah, honorable mention, yeah.
But
But yeah, but I do like the film.
one of mine is The Last Detail.
Oh
Yeah.
I don't.
yeah,
Doesn't get mentioned a lot, and I
yeah.
love these films from the late 1960s until the mid 70s. These films, The
hmm
Last Detail,
Yeah,
with
it's a very good
Nicholson, just
Randy
absolutely
Oh,
Quaid,
okay.
Jack
Randy.
Nicholson.
It just I sit there and watch it, and once again, character studies.
Uh,
I want to know about people and people in different situations, and you can't live 1,000 lives, but you can come close to some sort of proximity. And the last detail is a very good character study.
yeah. I was also going to say another film that is not a perfect 10. It's an honorable mention, but still one of my favorites, and that's A Soldier Story.
Oh yeah.
It's got some flaws in it, primarily because I think that Harold Rollins was probably
He's
not the
the
best
biggest
person for that
flaw.
role.
He's the biggest
Yeah, he
flaw.
probably not the best person for the role, but under the circumstances, um, so the better people for the role were already in the film and doing so well in what they did that I don't know who else you would
Mhm.
have picked outside of one of them. But I thought Denzel was fantastic as Peterson. My goodness, and Sarge. Oh my God, what again? Character study,
Adolf Caesar. So
fantastic from Adolf. Yeah.
what is your number 110?
That's when yeah, you froze. when you were
Oh,
telling us.
I don't think I could pick one out of the ones I gave you. They're all really really good. Again, like you said, RRR. What a fantastic,
Got to pick one, Penelope. Pick one.
excellent film.
Pick one.
Nah, I don't think I can.
You
I don't
don't
know.
want to.
I
You're
don't
not gonna
think
hurt
there's
their feel. You're
one.
not gonna hurt their feelings.
I know. But it's just like I'm on one side or the other to pick something that is a more serious film versus something that's not serious. But I said if I had to pick something that I think is as close as you can get, except I mean it does have some flaws in it. But other than like the one flaw in it, I like Kung Fu Hustle.
I like it too. I do like it.
Yeah,
It's a,
I think
it's human beings in a cartoon, not
yeah
like The Mask or
yeah.
what's the other one? Jessica Bunny or
Roger
Right,
Roger
yeah,
Rabbit.
right,
Rabbit. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
But
not like that
it's
at all.
no,
It's not
it's
like that at
it's
all.
it's its own thing. I mean, it is brutal. It is vibrant. It is funny. It is scary.
Sad,
I mean,
sad,
sad and
and if you
sad and
and you hate
everything.
bullies, you have people that bully other people.
Yeah,
It's really good to watch that.
yeah,
It's just yeah. It's stuff I guarantee. If you never
yeah.
seen the movie before, you will see things you've never seen
Never,
before.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think if I had to pick one, then that's the one that I would pick.
And
I
unlike
just,
The Matrix, which also show you stuff you've
mhm.
never seen before, it doesn't involve guns or
Yeah,
anything like that.
yeah. And then
Mhm.
on top of that, even the fact that there are guns, they show like our heroes with their very traditional weapons. The guns are no match for them. They're no match for these, three heroes for five.
Just a
The landlord,
beautiful,
the landlord and the landlady. My God,
the beautiful
also part of the heroes.
presentation.
And these people are here. They are underground.
Yeah,
You
beautiful
know,
presentation of katas and how katas are,
yeah,
like dancing almost. But
yes,
thinking
just
about that
beautiful.
film, the
Hmm.
film that everyone used to talk about all the time, being a beautiful film and that nobody talks about, is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. How
That is
come
a
that
lovely
movie has
film.
gone off the radar as
I don't know.
It may come back now that Michelle Yeoh's popular again.
It's a lovely film. It is a
Yeah.
lovely film. But again, it's a historic film, and a lot of people do not like history based films. They'll see it because of the beauty, but then eventually when they find out, and also because at the time it was unique,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
now you're so much of the Netflix, Vicky. You have all the Korean dramas, the C dramas, the J dramas. So you have this huge amount of films like that. I mean, who in the world knew that Parasite would come along? Who in the world
Mhm.
knew that Squid Game, would come along? I mean, they're showing. I mean, we are much more inundated with, I believe, Asian culture, Asian film
because
than we were
because it's
back
so
then.
new.
It
Because
was
we're
more
new, and
novelty then. Yeah, it
I
was more
think we
novelty.
yeah, we rely on our Hollywood relies on, despite their protestations, it relies on guns. It relies on a lot of sexism and racism,
Hmm.
and you don't get it. You don't get a lot of that in the cave drama films, Parasite, and it's telling you something different, telling you a different
Hmm.
story.
Well, I know with Crouching Tiger, a lot of people were expecting what my uncle would call the chop chop movies, those karate movies from the
Hmm.
early '70s and all that that came out and the explosion after Bruce Lee. Where it looks like they literally chopped them up and the synchronization was all wrong. So that's what they were expecting, and when they didn't get it, they didn't quite get it.
Mhm.
They
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that it came out. What is that? After that was the House of, what is it? House of House of Blades, or something like that.
Yeah,
Came
I
out
can't
after that.
remember.
Another beautiful film.
Hmm.
But then now it's opened up because of people's interest. We have so much more access
Right.
to films and
And
dramas.
storytelling.
And I'm
And
hoping
Yeah.
that I'm hoping that RR starts that Asian wave, and then I know there's several African film from different areas of Africa coming out that are starting to wake up the
I
culture
tell
because
you,
they realize.
I do not like what do you call those things? Those like nighttime soap opera type things. But oh my gosh, we started watching it's British was a Nigerian family, whatever, in the richest.
Oh,
Wow. Boy, is
That is
that
really good.
good.
That
That
is
is
so. That
so
is one of the, and
good.
I'm not a soap opera person.
Not at
But
all,
that's
but
one of the
that
trash. That is one of the trashiest
oh,
series I've ever seen. And then the other one that just
fantastic.
showed up where the people are superheroes.
Hmm.
I
the
forgot the name. What?
Orishas? No.
No, what is
Oh,
it
that's
called?
the animated one. Is the Orishas?
No, it's they're African. They're
Mm,
superheroes are being manipulated because
the black people who live
they
in
had an
England.
outbreak of sickle cell.
Yes.
I forgot the name of it, but it's really
Oh my gosh, what is that called?
surprisingly. I'll watch anything. I have a 15-minute rule, and I'll watch anything for 15 minutes. If it doesn't pull me in 15 minutes, it's trash. I'm out. So this movie, 15 minutes, it
It's a
just kept.
sci-fi film.
Yeah,
Eh,
I kept watching it for 15 minutes, and then 30 minutes, and the next thing you know, I'm binging it.
Mm.
Well, what is this? Not a film. It's a
Series.
drama. It's a drama. Yeah, it's a series.
Hmm.
And what is it called? I know you probably heard of it, Cranston. Um,
Does it
but
begin with a
oh,
P or something like that?
I can't remember.
So let's save that for making. Have another show. 15-minute shows. What pulls you in?
Supercell.
Supercell.
Oh yes,
Super.
Supercell.
Okay.
yeah. I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's
Highly
I
recommended.
liked it more when I first saw it than I did in retrospect
What's that?
because um I was very concerned when I thought about it in retrospect how much of the community is all drug culture, you
Yeah,
know? And so that say when this is how again it's like the gatekeepers again, the
but I
story that
think
they
you have
want
to
us
look
to
at it.
tell about who we are.
Yeah, but I think it's how we're manipulated to be in this drug culture. You know?
Yeah, that too, but you know, I didn't like the fact that everyone was so violence and drug culture
So
because you
much
didn't have
violence.
to.
So much violence.
Yeah, just
So
a
much
whole lot of it,
violence.
especially violence against women
So
was
much
really
so much violence against women.
yeah, not a
So
lot
much
of that was
violence.
unnecessary.
Yeah,
A
unnecessary.
lot of that was unnecessary.
Yeah. I don't like
So
that.
yeah,
I don't like movies. I don't like series that start off with like a murder mystery or something like a
hmm
procedural and the first victim is a woman. I don't like those. They need
yeah,
to stop at that. I don't like it.
yeah. So yeah, that there's a lot of violence against women, and it's unnecessary, and
But
that I don't like.
I recommend
Yeah, but I
Super
think
Sub.
you should watch it. I think you should watch it.
But I think I don't know whether the way that I watch it is like everyone else's, which is the 15-minute rule. I think
Hmm.
Penelope, you're willing to give it a longer period of time.
Yeah,
If it,
I mean, if something, it's something. If I'm captured by something, then I'll try to see it through. But you know what? You know me. I will quit something in the middle
Mm.
when I when it's like okay, that's enough, and I quit. 'Cause I'm done. Because if I get into something and a character or a character uh, development issue that is rising that I makes me uncomfortable, I'm done. So
Mm.
I don't have to continue watching this. When things make me feel I get uncomfortable, certain characters, certain things that they do. For instance, I thought it was very interesting. Are you watching what is it, the Cape Crusader, the
yeah,
Batman uh, film, the
yeah,
series,
the animated
the animated
series.
series? What they had done in previous animated series, they had Bruce Wayne have a relationship with Barbara Gordon after they had already set up the fact that Barbara Gordon was the same age as Dick Grayson,
Yeah.
which I thought was vulgar. I mean, absolutely vulgar, to the point of like barfdom.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one that they have not yet set up a relationship between Bruce Wayne and or Batman and Batgirl or whatever, but Barbara Gordon is aged up,
Mm-hmm.
so she is still Commissioner Gordon's daughter, but she is an attorney. So it's not like she's some high school girl, when he's Batman, which I thought, who in the world thought of that pedophilic nonsense in that first Batman? I guess like the same Batman they use for World's Finest. I
Mm-hmm.
think, what in the world were they thinking? Why would they think that that would be appropriate? I just that just no no
Well,
no.
it's
But
it's when you don't have enough diversity in the writers' room.
obviously not. That someone would say, okay, now let's think about this. Let's think about this
That's
realistically.
that's nasty.
Yeah, that's nasty. He's got to be about 15 years older than her.
Mm-hmm.
So why
Well,
would that be okay?
well, there was one. This is a classic one that goes back. We'll be here all night. But in the Star Trek original series, the one about Kodos the Executioner,
Yes.
and there's his daughter who is his assistant and everything, and then Kirk is hitting on her,
Yeah,
and
you know what? I just saw this recently. And I seen it back when I was young.
mhm,
And I saw it just recently. And then I'm like, wait, how
she's
old is this
19.
girl?
She's 19, and he's in his mid 30s.
Yeah.
If you
No.
if you put it in another context, at 19, she would be a second year student at Starfleet Academy.
Yeah.
And not only does he do that, but then when Spock talks to Bones about it, Bones is okay with it. Well, so what? Hey, it's Jim, so
Yeah, that's kind of nasty.
Yeah.
I mean, because as a kid, she seemed very old to me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I
Yeah,
became
yeah.
an
Everybody
adult,
seem old. Everybody
yeah,
seem old.
yeah.
It's like
And this was,
God. Somebody 65 should get together with somebody 15. It's like, I don't give a damn. They're all old. But as you get older, it's like, man, wait a minute.
wait a minute. Yeah,
That's not
Mhm.
appropriate. Yeah.
yeah, that's inappropriate. But,
Yeah.
they do this stuff and they don't even think about the fact that that is highly inappropriate.
Yeah, there's a meme going around about Dirty Dancing.
What about it?
Baby was was what, 15, 16, 17, maybe 18. How
Yeah.
old was Johnny?
How old was
I
He's
have no
he's
idea.
he's a grown adult teaching in a dance school in a camp.
Well, how old was he though?
He was probably in his late 30s, 20s, maybe.
No, yeah, he's probably in his 20s. I
I
don't
mean,
think
I
that
mean,
he's.
Yeah,
people
but
taught her that
still,
camp.
if she's 16,
That's inappropriate.
I
Yeah.
would think, based on what I know about these camps, and he was probably about 25. And
yeah,
so
and
she,
she's
and she
16.
that's too old.
That,
That is too old.
yeah,
That's
That's
too
too much
old.
of a distance. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that and also his only form of his only employment is a summer job. So
Right.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're watching it as a kid, it's so romantic. As an
Well,
adult,
I
you're
didn't think
like,
that.
well, maybe her father had a point.
Well,
Yeah.
I looked at the show. I never saw the whole film, but apparently he was supposed. They thought that he had gotten some girl pregnant, right?
Yeah, he thought that he was the father of the child. Instead, it was the one that the father was trying to matchmake baby with, who
Hmm.
looked older than him.
Said, well, why would you do that? I don't know. Maybe she was older than we thought.
I'm hoping, but
What you call it? What do you call it?
maybe if
The
she was 8,
wallflower.
yeah,
She was the
Mhm.
wallflower who was
right.
older.
But when I was 16, the only way I would come in contact with someone who was in their mid 20s is in like a camp thing or
Hmm.
something like that, or even a teacher, right? They
Yeah,
had young
Yeah.
teachers, so
Hmm.
but it wasn't like they were all over the place trying to get with me or I was trying
No.
to get with them, So it's very limited scope.
Yeah.
You got to be
Yeah.
pretty nasty At
Yeah.
25 years old, I'm not looking for no 16-year-old.
Nope. Nope.
I try to find me a hot 35-year-old woman.
Okay, there we go.
On that note,
Yeah, there we go. All right. Well, y'all, tomorrow is another day that I will be indisposed, but I think we could um let's try to talk at least for half an hour.
well,
Yeah.
we got to
No?
go off live. We got to go off air first. Got to say goodbye to our people.
Oh no, we forgot that everyone was still here because I
Yep,
got
so-
kicked
so-
offline.
Wait a minute. We didn't say you kind of copped out on the top 10. Your 10.
I did not give you one.
Yeah, she gave one.
What'd you
I
say?
gave Let's go.
Kung Fu Hustle.
Okay. What about you, Quinn?
Did Cranston give one?
Nope.
Strange Love.
Doctor Strangelove. Okay, all right. And Sonia gave hers. Was the
Rescuers. Probably change that back to Thief of Baghdad.
Thief of Baghdad.
Yeah,
I love Thief of Baghdad. That's
I love Thief of Baghdad too.
Yeah,
I'm not changing it because you all love it. It's just that one made me feel a little bit
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. You talked about it because your mom came to class.
Well, no, it's just the movie itself makes you feel
Yeah.
more energetic. So
Yes, and it's very sweet. It is.
And they got black people in it.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
I
mean,
do.
I thought what a
Yeah.
gorgeous
too.
film.
Yeah,
It's
It was like
gorgeous.
1940.
1940. It was
Beautiful
2
film.
years younger than my mom.
Wow.
That
so
was the
beautiful.
other amazing thing I thought. I was like, wow, you guys made movies like that back then.
Yeah,
It
isn't
is
that
so
amazing?
beautiful.
And
so
then compare it to now. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
But
there's
it's
no
also-
excuse.
And it was
Because
done.
the animation in that is even better than that last fight scene in Black Panther.
And it's
How
so
beautiful.
beautifully done. And it's like it was done at the beginning of World War II.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse for not making beautiful pictures.
No.
It could
Yeah.
be done. With just lovely. All right,
but
well,
also that's a sweet memory or something that you two could share.
That's
so
right.
that's very nice.
agreed. All right, now this will come back, and I can release everyone to go back to their lives now. Thank you so much.
Yes, likes, share, subscribe.
That's right. Also, we'll be back again next week for more discussions of the Otherhood. So have a wonderful remainder of your weekend and a productive week.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.